Suicide Squad had the worst villain ever, and we all know that. But you didn't know that the writers had a different villain in mind before everything went off. That's why it all felt like something was really missing. And yes, it was. Better grab a seat, because today we'll tell you the darkest secret about the movie's originally planned villain. Imagine taking a perfect picture, but the next minute you go on to ruin it with your own hands. A little contrast here and a little touch there, and voila, what you have isn't a picture, but a mess. That's just the story with the Suicide Squad. Something great was in the mix, but it didn't work out. Whether you love superhero movies or not, David Ayer's Suicide Squad had many issues. The movie was changed so much. It was rewritten, reshot, and re-edited that it ended up being very different from what Ayer had originally planned. Even though the movie made a lot of money at the box office, many fans considered it a major disappointment. Fans like you who had been expecting a blockbuster. The producers only did more to fuel that excitement, especially with the fantastic trailers that got everyone hyped up. But the movie itself didn't live up to that excitement, and a lot of the problems weren't Ayer's. The studio decided to do big reshoots and edits, which greatly changed the film from Ayer's original vision. Because of these changes, Suicide Squad became one of the most disappointing superhero movies in recent years. One of the biggest surprises is that the movie was changed even before they started filming. You're probably thinking, how do we know all this? David Ayer recently shared that Task Force X was supposed to fight the villain Steppenwolf from the Justice League movies in his original version, but in the final version, that never happened. Steppenwolf is a menace, but would have been an epic villain, especially because he's with Darkseid. Every powerful warlord needs someone they can rely on. For Darkseid, that person is his uncle, Steppenwolf. Steppenwolf is one of the immortal new gods, and his ability to unleash violence is almost unmatched across the galaxy. Known for being a brilliant strategist and extremely cruel, Steppenwolf is part of Darkseid's elite, a group of warriors personally chosen by Darkseid, the ruler of Apocalypse. He leads armies of parademons, who are relentless in their mission to destroy Darkseid's enemies. When the parademons can't get the job done, Steppenwolf doesn't mind stepping in to fight himself. Armed with his deadly electro axe, he is a skilled and dangerous warrior, and it's this Steppenwolf that was supposed to be the main villain in Ayer's own story, with the Enchantress falling under the control of a powerful alien object called a Mother Box. This was meant to set up Darkseid's arrival in the Justice League movie. However, many changes were made to Justice League, especially after the switch from director Zack Snyder to Joss Whedon, which changed the direction of both films. Darkseid would have been the big bad of Justice League that Zack Snyder intended to make in 2017. However, when Snyder left the project over some personal loss, Warner Bros. Decided to totally cut Darkseid out of the film. Rather than having Darkseid, the primary antagonist in Justice League got to be Steppenwolf, the chief commander of Darkseid's forces and his uncle. In fact, it is also worth mentioning that originally, David Ayer's Suicide Squad had something to do with these larger apocalypse notions. Ayer's version of the movie was to introduce Darkseid and his villains into the Justice League universe. He had originally planned a significant role for how he'd connect the Justice League to Suicide Squad. Still, most of his ties to Apocalypse were cut from the movie. Ayer thought about doing something creative, introducing the Steppenwolf and Darkseid through the parademons. Initially, the goo-covered soldiers that Enchantress spawns in Suicide Squad were to be parademons, the frightening winged insectoid soldiers from Steppenwolf's home planet, Apocalypse. These creatures are portrayed as creatures capable of annihilating entire armies, which would have made the threat much more real and dangerous. We got a glimpse of these parademons in Batman v Superman, where we saw Batman's nightmare, in which Earth was, of course, conquered by Darkseid. This setting was to be interpreted as meaning that the Earth's heroes would soon be confronted by Darkseid and his army. Doing that would have directly tied to the events of Steppenwolf's invasion of Earth. It just seems that featuring Steppenwolf and his parademons for Suicide Squad would have been a great transition between the two movies. It would also have been incredible to watch Task Force X from Suicide Squad team up with the Justice League later on to face Darkseid. However, due to all the reshooting that Suicide Squad went through, most of these Easter eggs were cut. But it wasn't only disappointing for fans, but also for the man who would take on the role of Steppenwolf. Game of Thrones star Ciarán Hinds was going to play Steppenwolf in Suicide Squad, a role he later took in Justice League. He would provide motion capture for the character, meaning Steppenwolf would have been completely CGI, just like in Justice League. Compared to what many of us saw in the deleted scenes from Batman v Superman, Dawn of Justice, Steppenwolf's look would have been upgraded to fit the great look we later saw in Snyder's cut. Still, the big question is, why did everything change during pre-production on Suicide Squad? We don't know precisely when or why, but the changes seem connected to some major story shifts in the Justice League. Zack Snyder was planning to make Justice League a two-part movie, with Steppenwolf showing up in Part 1 to prepare for the arrival of his master, Darkseid. Because of that, Suicide Squad had to switch its villain to Enchantress and her not-so-great-looking CGI brother. But even Ayer himself recently added that he'd have personally loved to work with someone different, someone sneaky, mean, crazy, clownish, with cracking laughter that aches the ears. I bet you already guessed who that is, and you guessed right. Instead, the Joker, played by Jared Leto, was more of a side character in the film. Ayer regrets not making him the lead villain, but still hopes to one day tell the story the characters deserve. Well, he does have high hopes of giving the characters the stories and plots they truly deserve. But for now, Steppenwolf still remains a big miss for the movie that nobody's going to forget anytime soon. You can only imagine how things may have turned out with him. While there are no details of the script for anyone to speak from, we do know for sure that the Enchantress would have been a villain who only prepared the way for a supervillain. In the original plan, Enchantress wasn't just causing chaos for no reason, she was actually preparing for Steppenwolf's arrival on Earth. Her goal of building a machine to wipe out humanity was part of a bigger plan. She was being controlled by a mother box. This powerful alien device forced her to prepare the world for Steppenwolf's invasion. As she caused terror and worked to weaken the world's governments, she was unknowingly clearing the way for Steppenwolf to attack, all to find a hidden mother box on Earth. If Steppenwolf had arrived through a boom tube, an interdimensional portal, it would have made the threat much bigger and scarier for the Suicide Squad. The team wouldn't just be fighting Enchantress and her brother Incubus, but they would also face the danger of an invasion from Apocalypse, the world where Steppenwolf is from. The boom tube could have been the epic moment of the movie, opening the door for Steppenwolf's forces and setting up a future showdown with the Justice League. Additionally, the final battle would have been more epic and even better. Instead of only fighting Enchantress and her brother Incubus, the Suicide Squad would have been up against Steppenwolf. It would have been cooler to see precisely the squad trying to fight against an unstoppable cosmic being. This would have grounded Suicide Squad into the larger DC universe and delivered the audience some of the big bad later in the Justice League. The sight of Steppenwolf would have established the massive battle between the Justice League and Darkseid's army, which Suicide Squad forms part of the story arc. The squad would become heroes by accident, caught in the larger conflict than they signed up for. Again, the real deal of superhero movies.